Hello, guys. So just before this episode starts, I'm considering doing this for all future episodes of the podcast. I'll just be recording like a 30-second intro to just sort of explain what the episode will be about. You know what you can look forward to, some hints to all stuff that's going to happen. And the reason I'm doing this one is because this is the Valentine's Day special episode. So there are going to be some topics that might be a bit triggering and very inappropriate. There's some very inappropriate conversations that occurred during this episode, so I've edited out some of the stuff that's kind of not relevant, but there's still some stuff that is definitely not the most appropriate. So I just wanted to let you guys know that viewer discretion is advised, and I'm just warning you that there might be some stuff they find inappropriate. So just yeah, keep that in mind as you're listening to this episode. Thanks. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I'm your host, William Fletcher, and this week I'm joined... Well, this is the Valentine's Day special, something that I did not do last year, and yeah, this is going to be a very interesting episode, I hope. So, joining me, guests, Aaron, back again for another episode.
Yo.
After last time. And join a new guest who's never been on the show yet, Tom.
Hello.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
That's icky.
Yes. So this is going to be probably the most negative we will... I have certainly been on this podcast. I don't think I've covered a film yet that I dislike. I think everything I've covered I like to a certain degree. And that's going to change today. With 50 Shades of Grey. So I considered doing the entire trilogy, but I decided no, I don't want to suffer through that. That could be, I could do the next one, the second one next year, maybe, or I could do a good film.
I feel like we almost had to do the trilogy, considering how the movie ended.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I watched the second one, the end. We'll get to that at some point. But it ended, and I'm like, oh, well, that's not really an ending, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it could, I mean, again, or I could just do it over 3 years and just have that's what the Valentine's special is every year, is 50 Shades for 3 years. But
Definitely should do that.
I think I probably should do that, honestly.
It'll be a trilogy.
It'll be a lot easier to digest as well, because I didn't like this film. I don't think I'm surprising anyone by saying that.
I personally didn't mind it, but that's only because I took I blocked out the fact that it's practically softcore porn.
It's not softcore. It's like
porn.
It's pretty close. It's pretty like
I blocked out that part and just focused on say the acting and a bit of the story, and it's not bad. It's not really my cup of tea though.
No, this is definitely a film made for no offense, but middle-aged women, right? This is this is not.
So that's... Sorry, you go.
We are not the target audience of teenage boys.
No.
This is not a film for us. But also, I don't think that necessarily means we can't criticize it for being bad. It just is not the thing for us. But it's not good. So I mean, Tom, I presume you didn't like this, right?
No. Well, see, because I actually have a very interesting point to make. So, you notice how the movie, right? It's I don't know who directed it, but I would assume it'd be directed by a man, right? That's just how that sort of stuff goes.
I'm just gonna quickly check actually, because I'm not entirely sure. It's directed by a woman actually, Sam Taylor Johnson.
Is it?
Yeah, it's made by a woman. I'm just seeing if she's done anything else that you would know. No, she hasn't really done anything that I know of.
Well, Nowhere Boy.
No, oh yeah, Nowhere Boy. I've not
watched that ages ago.
I've
not much of it.
Not seen that, but yeah, no, anyway. it was made by a woman, which is surprising because now that you mentioned it, it definitely feels like a man made this, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's like you mentioned before, target demographic, middle-aged mums, right? You know, white women that works, right? And considering that it's made for middle-aged women, I was very surprised that in every single one of the sex scenes, It was very woman focused. They really focused on Anna, not really
Yes,
not
they
really on the
really
book.
do. We
And
don't really see anything of Christian, like, at all.
not that I really wanted to. I'm kind of glad that I didn't see nothing, but I'm very
Yeah.
surprised we didn't see any any revealing shots of Christian of his his dangly bits.
Oh,
So
you
it's
got a little bit close. You got like
There's a singular shot where like
area,
he's pulling down his pants and you could see like a little bit, but
Yeah.
in comparison to Anna, like we see basically like full frontal, more
we
or
see
less.
everything. She's just full nude.
Also, I'm gonna say this is gonna be probably the most like inappropriate podcast I've ever done.
You gotta put a disclaimer before the podcast starts.
So-
Don't watch this if you're below 18.
Seriously,
Oh,
yeah, I'm just gonna say we might get into some stuff. My mum
go
actually,
back-
yeah,
sorry.
no,
I
I
was gonna
just
say, go. Oh my god, sorry, my bad.
no, it's fine.
I was going to say, going back to directing and all that, the person that wrote the book was also a woman.
Yeah, it was written
Yes.
by a woman,
E.L. James,
E.L. James. Yeah.
which is also pretty surprising as well.
Oh,
I did not. I think that's a little less surprising because I think it's definitely one of those things where it definitely seems like a woman's fantasy sort of thing. So I can understand
yeah.
if you're writing if you're doing a second book, like it makes sense because like the woman's fantasy, right? They can get into a bit more. Just with the movie, right? It's very focused. It seems like the target audience is for men, even though the book was definitely target audience was middle-aged women, right? I think most people, most look, I don't know if my mum does, but I think most mums have a copy of the book somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I know my mum has watched the movie, which I really don't like to imagine, but it's not like it's not a very I don't know. It's designed for middle-aged women, which kind of sucks because like I don't know. It's not our target audience.
Yeah,
We're not the target audience.
Yeah, I asked my mum about these books because I brought this.
no.
We were talking about this, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's made for middle-aged women," and she got like super offended that I said that because she thinks these are like like she hasn't read them and she hasn't seen them, but she thinks they're terrible because of like the message that it sends. I didn't ask. I just said I just sort of made a general like statement about it. In the sort of like
but it's
what the target audience for
it's-
these books and films
It's
are.
one of those books that like it was made to get a little bit heated,
Because you
get
gotta
a
think-
little bit.
Women always punch thing though to be more like
Mm.
I always think of like like that's what I don't think of women watching that porn, right? So normally I think of women reading stuff and things like that, which I can understand how that's enjoyable, and so I guess that's why the book was so popular, right?
Yeah.
But
Especially
the movie,
yeah, it's yeah. So I think the author, the woman, and I think I don't know where I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently she wrote like Twilight like fan fiction or something, and that's sort of where she got like the initial idea. I think, which now that like
That
that
explains
I
a lot.
understand that it sort of explains how like the relationship between Christian and Anna, in terms of like how like because in Twilight Edward is a fucking stalker. Like she should not like him at all. Like he is a creepy
that's exactly
person.
what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking with this movie, right?
Exactly.
Do you know how creepy? What's the dude called? I forgot.
Christian Grey.
Christian, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Christian Grey, right? He is so creepy.
Oh,
I
like
am. That was really uncomfortable sometimes. Like when after she does the interview with him, he rocks up to her place and orders the masking tape, the rope, the zip ties, right at the shop.
oh,
right?
that's so. He
Like-
seems like such a serial killer, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Like-
and then he just rocked up to her work. Like, holy crap, that is so like no, that was not for me. That was not for me.
Joke
Yeah.
about it though, saying that like Anna said like, "Oh, you've got all the makings for a serial killer right now,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
It's such a red flag. Like I would have. No,
Yeah,
not for me.
like
I gotta say that acting is really good. I think that's
I mean, I thought it wasn't.
well.
It was better
It was
than I
bad.
thought it would be.
What- Yeah.
I thought it'd be atrocious, and it was pretty solid, I guess, for what this kind of film is, though. Like,
I
it's
think
Yeah.
the acting was good, but I think there's something important to note is some of the dialogue that was said.
oh,
was very
there's so
cringy.
many
It was
bits of
very
dialogue that I want to bring up. There's a specific one towards the end that I really want to bring up. That is so fun, but I'll bring it up later on because it's like towards the end of the film, and we'll sort of
Yeah.
I would like to mention that I can imagine the Twilight fanfics.
yeah.
The bloody like Ella takes off Edward's shirt in the sun
Yeah.
and listens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. This is so, like... I just... Yeah, this film... So, I think it... I don't really know how to talk about this kind of film, I guess, because I usually... When I do these kinds of films, we usually go chronologically, but I kind of don't know if I want to do that with this, because I mean, unless... Is there, like, a specific place you guys want to start with in terms of, like, the story, or... Like, how do you want to...
I think it's very important to mention the very beginning of the film when she does the interview, right? That was from the very beginning a very awkward situation, right?
Yes, absolutely. I guess we could just go scene by scene, I guess. I mean, I might as well.
Yeah.
It's the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
The intro I found very it was uncomfortable and awkward for no reason.
Yeah,
I
like
felt
when they first meet, you mean?
Yeah, when they first meet, it's
yeah.
Like I can understand. Like first, I don't think Christian's like a good-looking bloke. I think he's all right. He's like a C tier person, but I can understand women find him attractive. So I can understand.
I mean, he's not. It's not. Yeah, you're not the target audience for.
Exactly. I don't. I can't like really comment on how attractive a man
exactly.
is.
Yeah.
What I don't get is.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Yeah.
But what I get is like why like completely flustered she was like and how like uncomfortable and how sort of like he was almost like enjoying it and like going on with it, which is kind of just weird. I felt a bit iffy about it.
Yeah. I found it was a super weird scene in terms of like, well, I don't really know. Well, first of all, early on there's like a red flag because he's got pencils with his fucking name on it. Like, how is that not a sign that he's a douche, right? Like,
well, it's his company name because his
company's not called Christian Grey though.
It's called the Grey House, and it says on the pencil Grey House, not Christian Grey.
Maybe.
I mean, I didn't get that, but still, like, but who uses pencils as well? Like, what, like, I feel like a pen is like sort of.
Well, see, because when you're doing legal documents, you're supposed to use pen because you can't erase pen. That's the whole.
I guess I guess that makes sense.
So, like, if he's like using pencils, big businessman shouldn't be using pencils.
Yeah. I'm just looking at him.
I think it was intensely made to be slightly awkward. I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely designed to do that. But
some of these scenes are awkward.
Yeah, I think I've job interviews. Yeah, I've done a job interview once. It wasn't the most awkward thing, but it's definitely weird to sort of meet someone you've never met before, like before and be like, "Hey, give me a job."
It wasn't a job interview. It was a
just a interview. It
was an interview for a
was she a school newspaper? That's right.
Because her friend is doing like reporting, studying reporting or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Called, and she's sick, so she so Anna decides, hey, I can help and do it for you.
Yeah.
So, like, which I think is a bit funny as well because she doesn't. I don't think she would have any sort of like experience doing that stuff, so it'd be almost weird. Like, surely she's not the only one on the school paper, right? Surely there's someone else that could do it.
It was for like assignments that they would.
It doesn't feel like an assignment. It feels like a school paper sort of thing. She said it was for the school paper, so I assume that's just a passion project of herself. So I feel like she'd have someone else because I don't know. We don't really do school papers in Australia, so I know in America, in like cartoons and other media that I've seen, that they only have like groups, like there's like a group for it.
Yeah.
So surely they have more than one reporter that could go out to Christian Grey.
Probably, yeah. Like it's I feel like if it's that big of a because we don't have that here really. So I kind of feel like it's a really like I'm sure that's probably the point that the scene's meant to be awkward. But did you guys get that it was meant to be a bit like there's meant to be like sexual tension between them?
Yeah, there was definitely like sexual energy in the air, which I felt shouldn't have really been there. Like there was no real reason to.
Well, I think the only reason why it's there was, when you see like somebody really hot and you go and you feel a little bit awkward and stuff like that because
you kind of like shut down a little
really
bit.
good looking and you're attracted to them. Those like and then like it was kind of like that, but also like they were feeling the same way to each other, which if you
I don't think it was.
I mean, I think she might have felt something for him. I don't think he felt anything for her. I think she was definitely way more.
I don't think. I think overall, I don't even by the end. I don't think he really feels anything for her.
Yeah, like I think like the sort of the way the film goes along and it's sort of how we see it, like he doesn't really love her. He just sort of wants to control her. And like there's no like love to that. He just sort of likes being in control, which is like which is the point. But like that's an abusive and like toxic relationship that people shouldn't aspire towards. It seems
very toxic in the relationship, and I think towards the end, and obviously picks up on that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, and they sort of so they have this sort of interview, and she sort of it's established very early on as a line here where she asks him if he's a control freak, and he's like, "Oh, I exercise control in all things." So
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I don't remember like a lot of like dialogue and stuff. I'm just looking at a list of like quotes and stuff from it to help me.
I wrote some of the like the cringier stuff that I said. I remember I wrote some of that stuff down.
Yeah, I made a few notes. I kind of stopped after about a few minutes because I was just like, I can't be bothered to. But I've got like so they have this sort of interview and she sort of leaves, and when she gets outside, she's like cools off in the water because it was very hot in the interview. And then it's around this very early on where he meets the hardware store, and again it's super creepy, like
rocks up.
Who just like take to all these.
A lot of romantic, like the same, billionaire falls in love with less, like not rich girl, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
that you see that in a lot of similar movies where the rich guy randomly pops up in like the poor girls, like.
Oh yeah, because you got things like for instance, like Cinderella.
Yeah.
I think Cinderella's a really good example of that, where it's like
Cinderella.
The prince
that's like
looking up to the poor chick's house to put the slipper on and whatever happens in that, right?
Yeah.
It's a trope that is used in like every type of romance. So many different romance like rom-com
stories and yeah.
But the difference is, you think of something like Cinderella, right? He's going to everyone, looking for not going straight to a house.
That is true.
Like he knows her location.
Well, I mean, the point is he doesn't know who she is in Cinderella. That's the thing too. He doesn't know who she is, so he's looking for her.
That's true.
Which is a bit iffy. Going after a woman he met for like a couple hours at most.
Oh well, then he marries her or something. But
but to be fair, if you look at a lot of fairy tales, they're a bit like, oh, that hasn't aged massively well, has it?
No.
Like Snow White kissing an unconscious woman. That's it's a good message. Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. So he goes to this hardware store. And it's a massive red flag. He buys tape. He buys zip ties. He buys a rope. Like, I don't know why she's into him. Like she might think he's. I
think she's more intrigued with him, more curious than anything.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah, I guess that's true, but it's not like it's very weird though. Like, if I was in that situation and I was with a woman who wanted to buy rope and tape, I'd be like, oh, it's a bit much, isn't it?
There's a lot of just red flags with Christian that I'm really annoyed she didn't pick up on. Like, coming to the hardware store.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And also, it's interesting how he does stuff that is considered, like, acceptable in this movie that in the real world would probably get you in big trouble. Like, because he, like, follows her everywhere and he's super, like, controlling and he doesn't want her to really do anything. And it's like, if any of us three did that, like, not that we would, of course, but if we did, it would be a very different story, and there would be consequences for that. But he gets away with it
it'd be very, very frowned upon.
Yeah, but we're meant to look at it in this film as if it's a good thing, and like, oh yeah, this is what men should do, and this is what women should expect from a guy.
Yeah.
And it creates these
like really, really bad assumptions, like really bad standards.
Yeah, and it creates these unrealistic expectations for women, like, oh, if a guy doesn't do this, then he's not the one for you. And I think that's a problem with other rom-coms as well. This isn't a comedy, but other romance films, like where a guy will travel like halfway across the country to just tell this woman he loves, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem. But also it kind of is a problem for men as well, in that, like, oh, this is what you should be doing, you know, to get a woman. Do the things these guys do in movies, which you shouldn't be doing, because like they're terrible. They're awful.
On that same sort of topic, it's kind of also important to note that, you know, he is very rich. He came from a rich family, of, and then he's also very rich, right? And so it's kind of like thing. It's like
he didn't actually come from a rich family. He was originally
he did. Well, you know, he came like with his original family. Right?
No, he was adopted by the Greys.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And so he does technically come, if that's like his family he's raised with, he technically does come from money, but like it's not his birth parents come from money, it's his adopted family.
His adopted family is a rich family, so he's getting the money from his adopted family. He still comes from money, right? And so it's very interesting to have like a the whole, like, he's wealthy, you know, he's a wealthy bloke, and then she's not. It's like putting standards that men have to be wealthy as well.
Yeah. Like, oh, you see that so much on like Tinder profiles and like dating profiles. They're like, oh, men must be like this height, they must like earn this much, they must earn like all this thing or whatever. Like, and it's kind of like, but no, like, how often are you gonna, like, I don't think, of course I'm not in that position, like, I don't know how often you would find that, of course, you know,
like, you know, I get that does happen, and it kind of sucks that, you know, we have to have like second like standards for that kind of stuff, like, you know, they have to be defined. But then again, I have no problem with that height.
Well, I mean, you are pretty tall, so you're probably you're probably okay with it. But like for me,
more girls for me.
But like my sort of opinion on the whole thing is like, just because that's what you want doesn't mean you should like put it out there for everyone to know. If you get what I mean, like if you're with someone but they don't have like what you're after, that's fine. Like they're not the person for you, and that's okay. But the fact that you put it out there so much, it just makes me judge you more, because you don't seem like a likable person for being like, they must have this, this, and this. But if it's like, if you sort of have that in your head but you don't say it, then I'm more okay with it, because you're not being like, you're not sort of, you know, you're sort of separating like so many people away, and you know, they could be the one you actually are meant to fall in love with or whatever. But
no, it's still
like
when somebody like breaks up with you just because you're not tall enough or you're not rich enough.
Yeah, but I
think it's a bit different in this case, because I think sex is a very big part of relationships. But to be honest, I first off have not had sex, and I've not really been in a relationship before, so I'm very inexperienced in this topic. But I do feel like it is a very big part of relationships. Is that sort of aspect, and so I think it's almost acceptable if to almost find someone else if they're not able to fill your sexual desires, right? However, I think there's a certain point where you should at least try to work, and I feel like if you want to be with someone, you should be able to compromise.
I think on both sides, like men and women should be able to compromise on both sides. Like, you know, you can't have everything you want, because that's sort of just not the way it is. And I sort of have the opinion of like, I'm giving my opinion on stuff that I have like no experience in being relationships. Aaron has a lot more experience in this, so he probably should be giving his opinion on a lot of this stuff.
No, I want to hear your guys' opinion.
But my sort of opinion, and I'm going to try and connect this back to the film, is that the thing is though, I think all people have expectation, can be a bit unreasonable in their expectations of what they want in a relationship, even if they don't want to, if you get what I'm saying. Like, I sort of have a thing in my mind of like, I'm sort of into this, but I'm open to anything, but I feel like I'm probably like, even though I say that, I'm more into another thing. And so
everyone has expectations when it comes to a relationship, and like it's not always like what you expect. Everyone has expectations, everyone has things that they want
and they
don't want. But your ability to be able to, go
look
for
past
clothes.
that and sort of mature and sort of have the sort of be able to like, okay, this isn't exactly like what I had in mind, but I'm willing to.
But on the other hand, the fucking extreme bondage that you get from bloody 50 Shades of Greys right there. Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
And also, like, I just want to say, like, Christian is like, he's a bad person. Like, let's just be honest. Christian is a awful person. And, like, the expectations he has is so unrealistic that I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. Like, you see these things of guys on, like, dating apps, and they're like, and it's like the same thing, basically. Right?
Personally, I don't think he's a bad person per se.
Mm-hmm.
He's a messed up person. I'm not even messed up. I just think like he knows what he's like, and he's pretty set into what he's like. And he's like, I don't want this in a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't want a relationship. I just want to have sex.
Which I think is fine. I think that's okay, by the way. If that's what, yeah.
Heaps of people are into bondage.
And I
just said we keep on like trying to interrupt each other. Okay. It's funny.
Oh, it's okay, Tom. You didn't miss much. We were just talking about whether we think Christian's a bad person or not.
I think he's a terrible person. I think he needs to grow up. He needs to grow up, dude. I think it's the stuff he does is borderline because she's technically consenting to it. But
well, I mean, if she's okay,
But when she does say no, he stops.
He does stop. To be fair,
when does she say no?
Well, at the very end of the film, after they've done all this other stuff together.
Was this when she was laying on the bed?
No, this is when she leaves in the elevator.
Yeah, at the very end where she says like their safe words. Yeah.
But also like he even stops himself. Like she says to up at the next level, and he goes no. He stops himself.
I think like sort of my opinion on Christian as if he was like a real guy, is that like I don't have a problem with him not really wanting a relationship, just wanting like a physical, thing with someone. I don't see a problem with that necessarily, as long as like both parties are okay with it. Like that's fine with me, I think. But I think it's to the level of control he goes to and the stalker-ish behavior he employs, like, is the problem.
Just the overall creepiness, because you got to think, right? So after they go to the hardware store, they go on the coffee date or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then she tells him that she's a hopeless romantic, so he cuts it off instantly there, right? I think she gets sad about that.
Yeah. And I'm just, if you, like, then she has, and the thing is, like, she has escaped, well, I don't want to say it, well, she's avoided a terrible relationship, and then she goes back to him, like they continue on with their, like, relationship, and it's like, that's not very good, is it?
Oh yeah, well, that's because, sorry, you go, Aaron.
I was going to say, from the information that I've learnt, like, I've heard, they actually, like, end up, like, getting married and having kids.
Oh yeah, no, it's a happy ending.
She like turns him around from just wanting like sex and bondage and shit like that, and turns him into like.
I mean, do you guys mind if I talk about stuff that I know happens in the sequels?
Sure.
I mean, even though we might cover these, I might cover these again at some point. Yeah. So they in the second one they like get together like properly, and like she wants kids and he doesn't. And so that's like conflict between them, and then by the end they're married and they have kids. So either his mind has changed or she's had kids.
Agrees.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about the age? Well, like age gap isn't too bad, but
it's not.
Like,
yeah, I think the difference is
college the age of the characters.
Like the college shit. So she's like probably around.
So it says here she's
21.
She's 21, and it says here he's 27.
Yeah, he's 27. That's fine.
That's not too bad, but this film could be so much.
But still, it's like he's going after a college girl that like from a college that he sponsors. So it's
that seems a bit weird. But
that's a bit weird, but it's also like that shit happens in real life, and I usually like I don't judge. It's like okay, you find weird, but it's like you find love or you find love, I guess, or whatever.
Or whatever this is meant to be, yeah.
Yeah, whatever this is meant to be. But still, it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
and like you can generally see that he does care for her, like in the scenes when he gets
at a few
drunk.
points, it's they sort of try and make it seem like, oh, it's more than just this. He does sort of start to develop feelings for her.
I disagree. Okay, I disagree completely.
All right.
Because I think he's a bloke, right?
Yes.
And I think in general terms, I think he just enjoys the sex, right? And then when their relationship is threatened and he fears that she's going to leave, he's in a way, he's kind of like, in the same sense, kind of, it's not grooming, but you kind of do something similar to grooming, how like you kind of build up to that point where you kind of get more comfortable with them. So I feel like he's almost grooming her. Well, grooming's a bit different. I think he's like building her up to be acceptable with this sort of stuff, to be with the BDSM stuff. And I think he doesn't want to have to go through that process again with a new woman.
Yeah, like I think an interesting sort of thing we could talk about is that, like, because yeah, he's 27, he's much closer in age. But if this was like a 50-year-old guy, like, or like a 55-year-old guy, and like an older man, it would be seen so much differently. It would be seen so much creepier if he was like an elderly man with a. What really? You think it wouldn't be as bad?
No, I don't. I think. No. So sorry. I said that really badly. I think it would be bad. I personally think it would be bad. But
yes.
I don't think a lot of people would see it as bad, because you got to think. With the few women I like, I don't talk to women all the time, but like a lot of people I have talked to, have basically said that, they're into older men, right?
Okay.
So I definitely think there's some sort of like fetish involved in that could
yeah.
I definitely think that could maybe expand the target demographic to younger women, because that seems to be the trend with younger women. Doesn't mean it's not bad. I still think it'd be even worse. I think it'd make it just so much more creepier, so much more like.
I understand what you're saying, but like. It definitely, I don't know, because I feel like if this film portrayed, if this film was exactly the same, you just swap out this actor for an older actor, and I had a man with like, visibly much older, like with grey hair and everything, would like as many people be into it? Like, would it be as big of a deal as it is?
I think it would be still just as big, like especially if they go for that like silver fox look, like. Instead of just going like fully grey, do like the salt and pepper and the beard, a little
like
bit.
If you chuck in like George Clooney, Colin Firth, or something like that into it, right? But even Steve Carell, as he is now, not that they do that sort of role, but you see how they kind of like got greyish hair. Like I don't think that's that bad. I think people kind of like that sort of thing.
Yeah, but if it was
still,
but like straight up like just grey hair, like there's no hint of like any other color. It's just like
it's just full grey hair. They got the saggy skin. They're basically like in wheelchairs, the works.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say, if you looked at Bray's body, he's toned. Like he's muscular, and he's like a little bit like. He's not ripped. He's just got.
Yeah, but he's definitely like a fit guy who could,
He's fit. He's got a little bit of a six pack and a little bit of a V going, but it's not like overly overdone. Like
it's not like the most. This is not how you see in like a lot of films where the guys are just like super unrealistic, like to a point where it's like so few people can get to that level. Yeah,
it's like Thor and Captain America. They're both jacked. Right.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I think as well with those movies, they get a lot of CGI.
But Christian is a much more realistic look.
That's different. They're superheroes.
I guess.
And Captain America got ejected.
Literally got buffed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got ejected in with some juice that made him just
essentially steroids.
Thor is a god. Thor is a god.
Fair point.
You do see him fat. We do get to see him fat.
We do see fat Thor, yeah. So I'm just sort of trying to look at where we're at. So yeah, so he's left her because she's a hopeless romantic, and then
all over the place.
She's drunk. Calls her.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is where they're at the bar. Yeah. Oh, this is.
Is this? Just rocks up?
Yeah. Oh no, this is the super creepy bit where I think it's around this point where there's a guy she's with,
A friend.
a friend
like
who
a-
tries to like
Jose,
kiss her,
I think.
who tries to like
Yeah,
kiss
he
her while
actually
she's
asks her.
drunk.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, that's literal rape. If he's not intoxicated, he starts to rape
Yeah,
her.
she
If
is
they did
drunk
kiss, he
off
wouldn't
her,
rape
like
her.
she is off her tits. Like she is super drunk. Like she is like
Yeah, which I gotta say, that's one thing that I think he does show that he does care for her because he.
that is true. That is one bit. He does rescue her from that. That is I will give you that. That is a slightly redeeming moment where he takes her away from a man about to assault her.
Link that to you could also link that he does really care about consent because like every time no is mentioned, it's like, say for instance when he said no to she said no to that guy,
Yeah.
he stopped it from happening. When in the elevator scene at the very end when she says no, he stops. He's very much about. It's not like it's. Like he wants consent to do this stuff. He's not going to do it without consent, and he will stop when it's.
It's just a bit more, yeah. It's just a bit more hardcore than like your typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I totally get that.
Yeah. But
like. But it's like, yeah, it's like, don't get me wrong. That level of BDSM is like not very. I'm not into it. I was gonna say I'm not into it.
It's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he takes her back to his place. And he undresses her while she's unconscious. Like I think that
was kind of creepy.
That is super weird. But he assures her he didn't do anything. But it's like still.
He's more. I'm not defending him. That's pretty wrong. But he's also saying that like you puked all over your clothes, and like you wouldn't want to, leave somebody in the puke. I get that, but like I would have like been like
get that, but I definitely I definitely wouldn't undress them while they're unconscious. Like that's
and like
I would definitely wake them up and give them
that. Hey, is it all right that I do this because you've just
or you can take it off yourself and I'll give you these clothes. Like it's not
or at least try to clean them up at least
at least like but at least try and do something else before you go to taking their clothes off.
I think not to defend Christian as well, but I think if she is unconscious, she's passed out drunk, right? She's not gonna. I don't know if you will be able to wake her up or anything like that to ask for consent or anything like that.
Yeah.
However, she's also using a flip phone.
Here that has been that level of drunk. You kind of can, but it's like kind of like it's like grunts.
Yeah,
I do think though she's using a flip phone, which I first off think is very strange for a 2015 movie.
Oh, that was so weird. I thought I wasn't looking at it right. I was like, wait, is that a flip phone? This film came out in 2015, and she's got a fucking flip phone. Like, but they're usually used by like old people who can't use a fucking iPhone.
Point is though,
because like
she's pretty poor.
I still think flip phones.
I still think you at least get like a BlackBerry or something. Like get like a cheap shit phone.
Point
but
is
that
though,
isn't
is
like
that,
a flip phone.
Point is a flip phone. Don't have password. She could have just picked it up, called her mum or contact anyone. Hey.
She could have totally called her a friend that she lives with.
Well, I don't know if he knows her or not. I don't even know the name because you think if she's the person who was supposed to be doing the interview, he would know the name. But I don't know if she'd have her as a contact, as her name, or whatever. Right? Point is, he could have called somebody, anyone on that thing.
Yeah.
And then he could have like, hey, can you come help? And blah 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 blah. Instead of just taking her back to his apartment, undressing her.
Yeah. No, that's super. Yeah, it's really weird. And
speaking of that,
it's stated that like he didn't like make her go fully naked or some shit.
I mean, that is true. I don't
it's not like fully undressed, but it's to the point when she's
still an invasion of privacy.
He could still definitely still he could if he wanted to, like he could. I mean, of course, we know he didn't. But, like, it's a position where, like, he could do stuff, and it's like, that's not good. Like, that's not okay.
That's not yeah.
Like, it's super weird. But she still decides to start seeing him. after everything he's done up to this point, and it's
I think
like
it's important to note as well. There's the whole thing that he talks about how he can't sleep next to her, but didn't he sleep next to her that night in that bed? Isn't that what he said?
yeah. Oh yeah.
The whole thing is like,
Yeah.
you're the only person I've ever slept next to, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if he said that, but
He does.
But
say
also,
that.
that kind of implies that if he's been with other women, he just like finishes off and then just like fucks off, like, or he tells them to, like he just like finishes up with what he just finishes, and then he just like leaves.
When he's in the Zen whatever,
Yeah, in his den.
He says that you sleep up here, I sleep downstairs.
Yeah, like
so like he fucks them and then goes downstairs.
Yeah. Also, again, a complete like that's such a douchey thing to do, to like to have sex with someone and then just fuck off. Like it's like, but that's not okay. Like you can't just do that. You can't just be like, all right, I'm done with you, goodbye, and then just
you're gonna think if that's what he's into, I think he's allowed to do that. However, it's also you got to also consider the wishes of your partner. But I guess that kind of goes into the whole his way of doing things is he's like the dominant, and that's kind of like goes against that sort of thing. You're in charge. You're in control of the situation.
Yeah. I mean, if he makes them all sign a contract, then I guess it's okay.
Also,
that is such a red flag. The contract.
One night stands. That's kind of like if it's a one night stand. That's kind of usually how it goes.
Not. He's seen her 3 days of the week.
That is true. He sees her like multiple days a week.
If it was a one night stand,
yeah, maybe. In that case, it's different.
But I'm not condoning that. Like, one night stand.
I think that's
like wake up in the morning and you at least cook them breakfast or some shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think if I'm ever in that position, I'm not just gonna leave or tell them to leave. I'm happy to let them like stay the night and then they leave like in the morning. Like that's I've got no problem with that.
It's like something regrettable. Like holy shit, I didn't. Or like how the fuck did I get here?
Yeah.
Like, if you regret it or something like that, then it's like, yeah, I gotta get the fuck out.
Oh, that is true, yeah. If you do something that you're like, oh no, I can't, why did I think that was a good idea? I have to leave, like, immediately. I can't stay in this any longer, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But, like, at least leave a note or some shit. Like, it was fun, but, like, yeah.
So, yeah, he makes her sign a non-disclosure agreement about their relationship. Again, that's not okay.
That's not normal. That's not normal.
I don't think Christian is a normal man. Like,
but he's not. He even states that he's not a normal person, and like I kind of, I don't condone it, but he's saying it.
But like it doesn't excuse his. But I don't think just because he's got some issues doesn't excuse him for being like.
No, I'm not saying it excuses him. I'm just saying that he's doing it because he's rich.
You can see how, in terms of the story, how he is like that and why he is like that in terms of how it's made. But that doesn't. But you don't think it's okay.
Yeah. And again, when you're rich on his level, you can't if this shit kind of
that got out, and he does notice as well. He does note that his lawyers advise on him, not him doing it.
Yeah.
Something as well. Before we go too far into the plot, I like to point out the fact when he has undressed her and all that, and she slept in the bed right after she got drunk.
Yeah.
He says some very cringe dialogue.
Oh yeah, what was some? Yeah, you said you made some notes of some dialogue.
I did. So in that scene there, right? One of the things he says, just out of nowhere. I don't know. I can't remember the thing what happened, but it was pretty much out of context, right? Something about how she was like drunk. So I don't want to see you drunk like that ever again. And he said, if you were mine, you wouldn't be able to sit down for a month, right? I laughed. I chuckled when I heard that. And then he had also just before then made her breakfast. Not made her breakfast. Maybe got room service. She was eating toast in bed, right? And she kind of got the toast upright in her hand. He goes up, cleans her, take his shirt off. No, I think he says he's about to go for a shower.
Yep.
Takes his shirt off real seductively, right? He knows what he's doing. He's doing it intentionally, and he crawls on her bed, trying to be seductive, and then he says the line, and then chomps a bit of a toast. It was just really awkward. He just takes a bite out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There is some cringe dialogue in this.
It was just I don't know. I found that really funny. It was just
there's so many funny bits that are just like
it's virtually translating something from a book to a movie.
Apparently, yeah.
books.
I have not read the books, thankfully.
Yeah.
But apparently it's written very weirdly. It's written in like third person, but like from Anna's perspective. Like it's not like oh he's like I don't know how it's written. It's written super weird.
It's not like he starts railing me hard, you know.
No, it's like it's sort of in like a third person. Yeah, it's like a third person.
So it's more like
but like
it's like Christian. I can feel Christian seductively run his hand across my face, something like that.
I found a little bit dialogue.
To write that, it's like a bit of third person and first person.
Yeah, it's weird to write a book. Like books are
with
hard.
With this kind of book, you kind of have to, because you have to describe the sex scenes, and there's only one way you can describe the sex scene.
Sorry, Tom, you were saying something. You found something.
So, well, I found with like the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
That it really just felt like two 13-year-olds flirting with each other. It's the kind of thing I'd imagine like younger me to say. Rather than, like, I imagine like a whole ass like proper conversation. Like it's like me trying to flirt. It's like man, you're a grown adult. You should know how to do this by now.
Yeah,
right?
especially if he's been with.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Can I add to that? It's more like one of like young teenagers flirting with a girl over text. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
it's super. Yeah.
It's like typing on like by text or like Snapchat or Insta or something like that, saying like, if you were mine, you wouldn't stand for like a week. And it's like, that's like the awkward thing about it, is that it feels like you just feel like a guy who's like texting something.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, laughing, crying emoji face.
Yeah. You only bring that up when you're talking to women.
It's just
it's what you gotta do. But no, like I don't know. It's a documentary. Like
it's.
I think.
Yeah.
I think the acting was all right for what it is.
I think it's very hard to act out sex scenes and make it seem genuine.
That must be the most awkward things to try and shoot.
Well, see, I got a question. Next question. I think they might have done it. I know that's the thing they have done in the past is actually done. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually.
You think the two actors actually did what?
No, I'm gonna search it up right now.
Going a bit off topic.
Yeah. So yeah.
I was gonna say. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I was gonna say that usually when actors have sex scenes, it's usually pretty awkward, and they.
A lot of them say like, it wasn't actually that fun. It was super awkward. Like
usually they have a fucking laugh about it. Like
absolutely, yeah. A lot of them say they did find
the sex scenes in Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Ryan Reynolds made so many jokes apparently during that whole scene that they couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah,
I think that's completely different. That's like in a comedy movie, right? I think this is supposed to be a genuine sex scene.
Game of Thrones.
Never watched
Game
it.
of
Actors,
yeah.
Like they made so many they've been like performing together for like years and all that, and they made like a shit ton of jokes while they're having like their sex scene, to the point when they like couldn't stop laughing. And that's like a common thing that happens, is that one actor is finding it a bit awkward, or both of them are, and like they're lighting the mood up for fucking like with a bit of a joke or some shit, and like that's like I gotta say that's a common thing with actors.
Yeah, absolutely. The
thing though. Sorry, you go.
I saw an interview with it was on the Graham Norton show with Keira Knightley and Samuel L. Jackson, and they were talking about sex scenes and how they sort of approach them. So Sam Jackson was talking about how, like, if he's doing one with a woman, he's like, okay, like, where can I touch you? Where can I not touch you? Like, I apologize if I get excited or if I don't, like, because it depends on the person. And they also bring up how awkward it is for the actors, because, like, the people watching, like, the director and all these people are watching it, but they don't realize how it looks to the actors, how there's like 15 just guys just sitting behind a TV monitor, just like sort of looking, just like sort of like looking into like a TV screen or whatever, watching two people pretend to have it's like super, it's like super awkward to shoot that. especially if that's not what like the kind of film is. Like if like because if it's like just a regular, you know, like a Hollywood production, you know, and you're trying to film that, it must be awkward to try and do, considering like it's not like the most natural thing to pretend to do. Like it's
especially
super...
because you have to act in a certain way. Like your character might do it differently to how you as a person would do it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like you could play a character who doesn't know what they're doing at all, and that's like the point. But the person playing that part might know it, like has done it before and knows exactly what they're doing. So you have to. So you know, it is. I guess you could say impressive than when actors have to try and do it differently, because it sort of depends how you do it.
Another example of that is exactly the same thing on Graham Norton. It was a what's her name? She plays Daenerys out of
Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke. She was talking about her sex scenes with
Jason
Momoa. Yeah, on the Graham Norton show, and how he was apparently like really gentle, very kind, very apologetic.
Yeah, I think I heard her say that he used like was
really funny. Apparently,
yeah.
Like he was, and like it was like I think one of the first times she's ever done a sex scene. So he was very much like professional.
Yeah,
but like he broke tension by making jokes and stuff like that.
Apparently, he wore like instead of wearing like the regular kinds of like socks that actors wear, he wore like a pink one just because it would. Or something like that. He didn't wear like a proper. He wore like a funny one to sort of relieve.
I think at one, if I remember correctly, I think at one like redo of the scene, those elephant tube things, elephant underwear.
Yeah.
A fella thought that he wore one of those as a joke.
Right.
If I remember.
Yeah. This is a bit of a tangent, but
Yeah.
So
I think it's important to the context of the movie.
That is true, yeah, and how like it because in a lot of movies, and especially like in like not these kinds of movies, in like a lot of like sort of bigger films, you don't necessarily see this kind of stuff. It's very sort of muted. Like they're both like they've both got like the covers over, so you can't see anything, or there's
exactly.
just
And it's only like once they get to the point where it's actually doing the action, whereas. 50 Shades has all the foreplay.
Yeah, there's all these things. There's there's all these different positions.
It really feels like you're being a lot more. I feel like if I was to be the actor for Christian, can't remember his name.
Jamie Dornan. Yeah,
that's it. Right, having to touch Dakota Johnson and stuff like that. Yeah. I feel it'd be a very big invasion of privacy because it's not really she gets the option to say. Like you said with Samuel Jackson. How he
absolutely, because her hands are like,
really get that action.
Yeah, and her hands are in a position where like she can't do anything, so he's gonna be
exactly. He's gonna be.
And I think it shows how good. I think it does show how good these actors are. Is that they can portray the scene so well without like it being like it doesn't look awkward on the screen or anything like that.
I will give them that. It doesn't look like it's people trying to, like it sort of feels. I'll give you that. It's not like the most. And
it also shows like the professionalism is that they can do scenes like this.
Yeah.
Like, of course, again, it's gonna be awkward. They probably did have like a laugh in one take when they like. Fucked up or some shit like that, or something funny happened. But like,
I'm just reading through the plot summary on Wikipedia to just remind myself. So they do this agreement, and she takes out a bunch of stuff though. Like he puts in a bunch of things he wants to do, and she removes all of it. And it's like
it's like the contract, right? And she's at the business meeting, and she's getting rid of some of the stuff that she doesn't like. Like I think anal and vaginal fisting she gets removed. Completely understand.
But also it's weird though, because like if that's what he wants to do and he wants someone who will like do what he wants, then like I don't know why he like the sort of thing is like if that's what he wants to do, I don't know why he wants to be with someone who will tell him no, I don't want to do that. Like that kind of feels like to me defeats the purpose.
I think it was more that he was setting like the options of what we can do and what you don't want to do. He was like, it's like fucking going to Pornhub and getting the categories up, you know? Like, it's...
I think the reason he's putting that stuff down.
Like, he was like, this is what we can do, this is... And you cross out what you don't want to do.
See, I think it's kind of like he's a control freak, right? I think that's very apparent. He likes to have control over Anna.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely, yeah.
And so I think him having the options to do all that sort of stuff is like him having control over Anna. I don't think he's doing it for like this is the options we can do. I think he likes the reason he's letting her get rid of the stuff is because he already has. He's kind of know that. I think he knew because I know at the end one of the big things that she says is it's like I fall in love with you, and he's like, no, you can't have done that, or whatever, right? And so I think she knew, he knew that from the beginning, right? Not from the beginning, but by that point he knew, and I think he knew that he had control over Anna a little bit, and would be able to fulfill his fantasies without having to go through the effort of getting someone up to that point again, right? And then it's like that's why he was willing to take someone's stuff. It's like, well, a bit of give and take, right? And that's why he even adds to sweetener, right? That I one day a week we can go have a nice romantic date, right? But then like only so he would. It's manipulative, right? That's the thing that happens. Like it's like you can think of like with from my limited knowledge of abusive relationships, a lot of the time it's people they'll do like one good thing, they have like a streak of bad, one good thing, and people will focus on the good things. Like, well, he's not actually that bad, right? That's what. And so that's why it's like, well, he's actually trying to change whatever, but he's really not. He's giving up. He's basically not losing anything. And then he's, what I mean?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's sort of like I get that. I just think it's a bit weird that because it kind of. I mean, I feel like there are some people who might not understand that and might not get that, and it's sort of like, well, if he wants to be like a dom, why is he like allowing her to say no? Like that seems to sort of defeat like the purpose of what he wants to be doing. But I get what you're saying though.
I think it's more that he's like asking, okay, what do you consent to and what you don't consent to? Because it's like he's still all about consent. So like.
No,
if she doesn't she doesn't want to do that, if she doesn't want to consent to that, then cross it off the list, and then everything else she consents to.
I don't think he's all about consent. I think he has to, right? Otherwise, it's rape. I think he's forced to, and that's why he even has a contract about it, right? I think he's very much forced.
It wasn't illegal, he would just be.
Yep.
Okay.
I 100% he would push her to her limits. Right? I don't think there'd be the contract or anything like that. I think only because it's illegal and it's classified as rape.
That's why he's limited and has to do this.
Yep. Because I think if that wasn't a thing that happened, I think he would just go for it.
And I think
everything.
To be fair, I think this sort of contract is also introduced by the author E.L. James to sort of show like, oh look, he's not that bad. He's got a contract, where he's saying, where he's like where he's having her consent to this, and I sort of feel that that's kind of not very good. Like, like it's super, just
Yeah. We also talk about how professionally he tears open those condom packets. Like,
oh man, that's so weird because you never see people like using condoms in film. Like it's like,
anyone watching this, that don't do that. You're gonna punch a hole in the fucking condom.
Oh yeah, where he puts it in his mouth and just rips it. I'm like, yeah, no.
No.
I would worry that if I did that, it would like cut my like lips as I'm trying to do it.
Because the wrapper.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. It's incredibly hot and sexy when you do that, but you're gonna punch a hole in it.
Yeah, it's gonna make it. Yeah. So I'm just reading through the Wikipedia plot summary, and it says so. At one point, she reveals that she is a virgin, which is a big deal, and so they negotiate the agreement. They visit his playroom as it goes, and then it says she and Christian have sex. Brackets Anna loses her virginity. Like that wasn't just. I think it's funny because it's like, well, yeah, obviously she does. Like, it feels weird to state that, considering like that's kind of how it works. It's just very weird to me.
I think it doesn't. It feels just like a regular sex thing though. Like it doesn't feel like. I feel like if it's no losing virginity, that's normally like the big thing. I feel like they would have done something a bit more.
I was gonna say, if you did that line, as soon as she says, "I haven't done any of this before. I'm a virgin," he goes, "You're exactly what I'm looking for."
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's also creepy.
That's super weird. That's super.
Yeah.
It comes down to a control thing. Like I've been watching a lot of Chris Hansen to Catch a Predator recently, right?
Okay.
It's related. I swear. It's related. It's related. I swear. It's related. I swear. Point is though, is that a lot of things that happens in that sort of stuff. It's like the whole control thing. It's kind of like you get they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what's right and wrong, right? So they don't know what's like. How do I explain it?
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying? Like it's like he can basically just do. He has a little already because she hasn't done this stuff. She doesn't know what's normal or how it's supposed to feel or like what it's supposed to be like.
That's super manipulative though. That like he knows that she's a virgin and she's never done this before, so he can get away with more stuff now because she doesn't understand that. Hey, that's not okay, and that's a bit fucked. Like you like It's sort of like the thing with like teenagers and they get with older people, and that's not okay, but they don't understand that, of course, so they can be more easily manipulated into doing things they shouldn't be because of
But on the other hand, he did say do your research on what this is. He did say like look up submissive and what that means.
That was after though they had sex.
Yeah, that was after after he took his V card. She took her V. Whatever. Fuck.
Yeah,
he
took her.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That was after she lost her V card. That he was like, look up submissive and what that means and what this means and blah blah blah.
I'm just gonna say it, Aaron. It kind of sounds like victim blaming. Like no, but I think because she's
like I'm not defending him. Like it's still fucked.
But she also is an adult, and I think she's like it's kind of weird that she doesn't even know about like any of that stuff. Like it's kind of like, I mean, I have a somewhat decent knowledge of these things. Not that I haven't done them, but I'm aware that they exist, and I knew
that stuff since I was 12. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think most people know about that stuff, but it's also the issue. That, like, I don't know when the movie's set, because just because it's a 2015 movie doesn't mean it's set 2015.
No. Actually, I'll see if I can see when it's set.
Like, she's also like 20, right? You got to think like we grew up in the modernish times, right?
Yeah.
I grew up 2003, 2004, right?
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where like we just know that stuff because we had a lot more accidents. She didn't have that lot of accidents. She might have only had internet for the past 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like with a decent internet connection. So that's only 10 years to learn stuff,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't. I tried to see if there was anything that said what year it's set. I don't know. It's probably set around modern day, but I don't know like how much like it is. Oh, and another line I made a note of that is super like a red flag. He says, no escaping now," which like, come on, like if I said that, not that I would, of course, but like, if someone says that, I'm getting the fuck out of there. Like, I'm not staying anywhere near that person.
It's set in 2011. 50 Shades of Grey is set in 2011.
Okay.
Well, still, even then, so she'd know. Like I don't know if she would know about that sort of stuff because I didn't know about stuff in 2011.
Yeah, that is true.
You gotta think that stuff was. I feel like until recently, like in the past 10 years ish, that stuff was still fairly taboo.
Yeah, I think
that's the kind of thing where like you have to go and like the dark web to find that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think sort of times have changed a bit for the better. Things have definitely changed for a better world that we live in. So
sorry,
yeah,
I said the quote earlier too about what Christian says to her when he finds out.
What does he actually say?
He actually says, "Where have you been?"
Oh, well, okay. I think
which is still somewhat similar to what I said. Like that's still on the kind of similar scale. It's like
okay, I'll say that quote in isolation isn't like too bad. Like,
but if you think about it in the context
of the film, it is a lot worse. But if like, like it definitely like that's a kind of quote where it's sort of like it depends how you say it and the context in which you say it. Like some of Christian's quotes are like, there's no context where that's okay. Like there's no context where it's like that's not a creepy thing to say, you know, like no escaping now, like come the fuck on, like that's and I think and it's so like kind of depressing, I think, that E.L. James thinks that's what men should be like saying and doing to women. Like they think, like she thinks like, oh, this is what men should be doing, you know, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just a sad state of affairs, isn't it?
Anna is 21.
21, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's like, and yeah, how old is he again? He's like 20 something. He's 27, yeah. So it's not, yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that big. I think that's a pretty reasonable age gap.
But
as long as
if
like,
you think about it, in America, that's like.
That is true. Yeah.
Everyone is like considered like around 18 you're considered adult, but 21 is like the age when you are like an adult.
Yeah, that's like when you can drink and like do a lot.
Yeah,
more
but
things.
they can have sex. I think depending on the state is where it changes. But I think
the state it definitely depends on the state. Yeah.
I think 16, 18 is like the legal age.
Yeah. I think that's how it is here. I think the state depends on the state. Yeah.
It's 15 in Victoria or something. But,
yeah.
I was gonna say 18 for anal.
That is true. Yeah, it depends on like the age for different things you can do, which is just weird. Yeah, no, it's weird that you can do like stuff that can get you pregnant when you're 16, but when you're 8, but you can't do, you know, stuff that definitely want, you know, it's weird.
Yeah.
Back to the film. So she also meets his mother finally, which is, and for some reason she's never seen him with another woman.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a bit odd considering we sort of have implied he's been with a fair amount of women, right?
He doesn't see his mom before.
I think that's like, you know, he keeps to himself and he tries to keep it like his whole sex life and shit private from his family and all that. Which like I get that too, because you know, like no one wants to know the family to know, you know, about their sex life and stuff. Like unless you're a sadomasochist that's into that, then it's like, well, you know. Yeah. Which he does call him. He does call him a sadomasochist.
Yeah, it's it's this film. Man, this film sucks, doesn't it? It's really
Yeah.
I made a note. In fact, I'll read my note. I said, this film is fucking awful. Why did I choose this?
Again, like, I get rid of the creepy. I'm like looking past the creepy parts and the soft porn part. Soft porn part. And I just go to like I focus on other elements, and I'm like, it's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, there was a bit.
That sort of stuff kind of makes up most of the movie.
In a certain point of view, it's not too bad. But
it's
like this one bad element, but the rest of the elements are kind of alright.
Yeah, it's the main relationship that kind of ruins the film, isn't it? Like the rest of the film is like decent, I guess. Like it's fine, I guess. Like it's nothing amazing, but it's not like I think the reason I dislike it so much is just because the relationship between Christian and Anna is so like
creepy,
fucked, and it doesn't work. Like because I hate rom-coms so often because the relationships are shit. Like they're not well written. They're not well realized. I don't care. And the only time films about relationships work for me are when they're about relationships, like people breaking up and having bad relationships. Because that's like more interesting to me, you know?
Yeah, and like that's totally agreeable. And I agree about that statement too. But also for the movie it is, I gotta say the cinematography and the sound design and the music and all that is really good. For what it is.
I could sort of get on board with that. For what the film is, it's definitely it
There's
could be.
Some scenes there that I'm like, oh, this is a really nice looking scene. And I'm not talking about the sex scenes. I'm talking about you know.
I get what you mean. Like the helicopter ride. I thought that was a really nice scene when he takes her on the helicopter after.
Yeah, and you get
something.
It's like Seattle at night and all that.
It's really
that scene
very
was
pretty.
actually too bad. I thought that scene was pretty.
I thought it was a nice romantic scene, and I think they could have like done more of that. And you could have
if
made
the
a
entire
sensitized
film
Christian
was
a
like
bit more.
that.
I don't know if the entire film had to be like that, but I think they could have had a bit more of that kind of show.
If they'd done more with it, yeah, I think because the thing is, right, I think that if you change some stuff, this could maybe be like
a decent film,
a better film. Like that's the thing too, because and here's the thing. Because E.L. James was heavily involved with the production, and she basically wanted nothing to be changed from the original book.
Right.
So essentially, it's so bad because they wanted to make changes and take stuff out or put stuff in that would have improved upon it, and she like didn't want them to do that, and it's like I kind of think they should have because it might have been a bit better,
I was gonna say, if you look at something like the best movie to book to movie adaptations, they changed it around a bit. And they change certain things.
Yeah, they're not 100% faithful to the source material.
Say, for instance, Harry Potter has had a lot of changes. The movies are a lot different.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff
that's been going around lately is, when in Goblet of Fire, when, Dumbledore goes, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Instead of, in the book where he goes, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Yeah.
Or like, say for instance, have you seen Dune?
I have seen Dune. Yeah, I haven't read it, but I have seen it. Yeah, I read the
book beforehand. Like, I read the book before seeing it.
Yeah, I planned to read the book. I just ran out of time too. I just kind of lost.
There was a lot of things that they put in from the book into the movie.
Yeah,
that was like, holy crap! Like small details. But there's some scenes that they changed or didn't put it in or put it in different time.
Yeah.
Like there's like one scene when the scene when Gurney and Paul are in and they fight at each other, train with each other. That happens earlier in the book than later on in the film.
Yeah.
And that's a prime example that, do a good movie adaptation of a book, you have to change scenes. You have to move it around a little bit. You can't keep it all like exactly the same.
Yeah. No. And I think, and that's part of the reason I think the film fails is because like they were not allowed in like any way to make anything, to add anything, to remove anything, to change anything, and I think that's why it fails, because it's not like allowed to do anything different. It's not to have creative freedom.
That's because it's a book, right? And a book's not a movie.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's much easier to write a book that, like, in terms, it's not easy to adapt a book.
Like, exactly, because you got to think the book was meant to be a book, not to be a movie, right?
That is true. Yeah, I don't think they actually had a film in mind.
That's why things like Shakespeare and stuff. You read all those play transcripts, right? We read them as in English class and stuff like that. They're designed to be played out as a play. Right?
Yeah.
So it's very important. Like if they were to do a play adaptation or like a movie adaptation, they'd be able to do it a lot easier because it's literally, like reading a script.
I don't know about that. That's really bad Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah, but that's because that's when they differ from it, because it's designed to be done a certain way.
Yeah.
It's written with the intent of being done as a play.
Do we need to talk about that one which is set in like?
No, that was just.
We don't need to talk about the one we had to watch for English.
That's nothing to do with 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
The point is,
it's a shit movie anyway.
I was just saying that. I was just saying that there was some bad adaptations.
Yeah, there are bad adaptations.
I think.
But it's hard to do good adaptations of bad work. Like if the source material you're taking from is bad.
That's true.
Not that I've read it. I haven't read it, but they they make a lot of money. In fact, recently they released one which is 50 Shades of Grey, but from Christian Grey's perspective. So it's the same novel, just from a different person's perspective.
That's kind of interesting, I guess.
It's interesting, but
it's an interesting way to do it, but it's like, but are we meant to root for this guy? Like, considering,
I think that might be like the turning point. Might be like the redemption arc sort of thing. You kind of see where his mind's at during all this.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I mean,
Speaking,
yeah.
speaking of Christian Grey, I found the base plot of the movie, like all the stuff outside. Pardon me. Sorry, like with all we learned about his life and his relationship. I felt like all the interesting stuff happened in the last 30 minutes of the movie.
Oh yeah,
Everything
we
else
get a
there
lot
was
of
just
big
sex.
reveals at the end, like how he was abused and
How his mother was a hooker and a drug addict,
yeah, and it's
and he got
like,
adopted.
yeah, I think it's very weird. This film, I feel like a lot of it is just, I don't know about you guys, but I found it super boring. Like,
Yes, I had to break it up into 3 different parts.
even the sex scenes, like, while it was probably the only times that was like interesting, and not even because it was sex, it was just because it was like something different, and it
Yeah.
had, and like the way it was like shot, like how it wasn't just, it was like, because I felt a lot of the movie was super like, I mean, I feel like that's the point, but it looked super grey and just like drab,
Yeah.
and there was like no color.
That's the point.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
no.
thing. That's the thing. You see, all the characters kind of wearing
50
grey,
Shades of Grey.
except for Anna. I feel like Anna was wearing a lot of color.
Yeah, I think that's the
That's the
point, of
purpose.
course.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
not
unfortunate.
appealing. It's not like appealing to look at
No.
though. Like it's ugly. Like to look at just grey. Like it's just doesn't. But no, I get the purpose of it. It's just super like
It just doesn't work.
it's yeah, because like a film doesn't need to have color to like it can be drab and everything if that's the point. But like it just doesn't.
Like, yeah, like movies don't need a lot of color and stuff like that to be good. Like you think of like Schindler's List, that's completely done in
I
black
mean,
and white.
yeah,
even
it's
though
black and
like
white. Yeah, it's a
fairly
great
recent
movie,
film.
but yeah.
I forget the name of this movie, but there's a movie that I used to watch when I was little, where these two teenagers get stuck in a black and white TV show or movie,
Right.
and they fall in love with some of the characters, and they bring color to this world,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and it's actually like a really good movie, and it shows that you can get a lot from a movie just by the colors alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I think like color isn't necessary, but it's kind of like it, unless there's a purpose for it, is like it's sort of a thing of like there's no problem with like a lack of color or a high amount of color, but as if the like it's just sometimes it could be really drab and just like it's really just not very nice looking, and it's like what is the point in like it's just like an ugly looking film, like if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
So he starts buying her a bunch. Sorry, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, really quickly about the color. Have you noticed as well that the movie's mostly grey, right? However,
Yeah.
when it gets to like talking about like when Anna is feeling like happy or like in love, I guess, like when they did hookups, a lot of color in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like that. But like when she's back at home, there's a lot of color there, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when she's kind of hanging around Christian, it's kind of like all this grey thing, which kind of you would think would perpetuate the kind of idea, or like like expand like the motif that she's kind of like feel like she's kind of drab, kind of abusive, not where she should be.
Yeah.
It's a colorless, joyless sort of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this film, it sort of he starts being a bit. I mean, he's been incredibly possessive up to this point, but he starts buying her gifts. They start really like using this contract.
It's like guilt tripping her with the gifts to kind of stay.
Pretty
She
much,
kind of has
yeah.
to stay. Oh, he's bought me all these gifts. I can't just leave now. Now he's bought me a whole
Yeah.
ass car and a new computer.
Yeah, like there's a bit where she's drinking. Like he says, like she can't drink alcohol. Again,
Excessive amount of alcohol.
yeah, and so she's like, oh, I violated like section 7, paragraph 5 or whatever. And it's like that just it doesn't feel right because it doesn't feel like a relation. Well, because I mean it's not a relationship really, and I'm not sure if that's the point, of course. But it's like she, it's just hard to get invested if I don't feel like it's real. If like that, like it's sort of like I can't be invested in something if I don't buy the characters being together and like the chemistry between the two of them.
Yeah.
There is no chemistry. That's the thing.
Yeah,
There's
but
there's a few moments where there is a little bit, but it's kind of like he just ruins it, especially at the end. That was just nah.
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like there's no reason I can't. Why should I be invested in this if I don't care about these characters? You know, it's like But like people clearly were invested in these characters because this film made like over $500 million, like something.
I think that was because most moms read the book, like the book.
So
Cool.
the first one made
Cool.
$569.7 million
Holy crap.
on a budget of $40 million. So it made like
nearly 10 times the amount they paid for it.
Yeah.
Because people like seeing porn in the cinema.
I think people just like Dakota Johnson. Little blokes like Dakota Johnson.
Maybe, yeah. The second one made $381 million on a budget of $55 million. And the third one made $372 million on a budget of $55 million. So they still made like they didn't make as much as the first one, but like they still made a lot more money than like I feel like they should have. It's for like the quality of film. Yeah, so this is sort of they let's see, there's quite a few sex scenes, like there's quite a few moments where they're just like there's a one where they like do it and then he plays the piano and then she walks over and they just do it again. I'm like, really? like it's just really strange. And I love how Pardon?
What'd you say?
He plays like after pretty much every sex scene.
Yeah, goes and plays the piano.
Yeah, I love how that's sort of what he does. He's like, all right, I've had sex, now time to play the piano for a little bit.
Time to bust out Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, dude, after just railing this chick, dude.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, never mind, she's back. Beethoven can wait. And sorry.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really weird.
I think though the ending part, like the ending, it's not really a sex scene, but the ending scene, like with the whole bit where like you bust out the whip.
Oh yeah.
Not the whip. It was a belt.
It's not even. It's a belt. It like yeah.
I don't know if it was like a belt designed for that sort of thing. Like it's designed to be some sort of sexual BDSM belt. It's just a belt
it's not meant to be like something you use typically, like
because it's not designed to be around your waist.
Yeah, it's it's. I don't know. I felt during that last one where he's like whipping her, I felt like super uncomfortable.
That was really hard to watch.
Like
she's crying and stuff, dude.
Yeah,
and then she brings up a really good point where she's like, where she says to him, "It's like, is this how you want to see me?
Yeah,
for your pleasure or something like that." And that was like, bruh, that's a good point. Like, I don't think anyone should ever want to see their partner like that.
I kind of also like. She gets mad at him for that, right? But he kind of knows that he's into that kind of shit.
To be fair, at this point,
he did ask, and she would have known that he's into that shit. And he even warned her that you saw you.
No. I think it's like she knows that he's into BDSM, but I think she still doesn't understand the whole thing. Like she understands how it feels good and stuff like that, but I don't think. But what she doesn't understand, that she can't touch him. She doesn't understand what he's getting from it, right?
Mm.
And so when she does that, I think she kind of comes to the realization that like he's doing it, she's visibly getting hurt, right? That's it. That's the only thing that's happening there is that she's getting hurt.
Yeah, right? And that's what is like appealing to him. Is not like her getting pleasure or getting anything out of it.
She's crying from it. She's not getting pleasure from it.
He is getting off on the fact that she is getting hurt and she is getting upset.
And
like that's what it comes across to me.
That's why she leaves.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, and it's so like just gross, like how, like this is like, because he's like they are the protagonists, like he's like, in terms of characters, like he's we're following him, and it's so weird and so. That was the one scene that I was genuinely like, this isn't okay. Like, this is too far. Like, everything else before this, I could sort of go with and sort of be like, I don't necessarily think that's okay or agree with it, but, like, it's not making me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not
I feel like some of it made me uncomfortable. Like, I didn't like the hardware store scene. That was a bit weird.
Oh, that was a bit weird. But it wasn't, like...
when he walked up to her place at Georgia, like where she was from, I think it was when he just was there, right? She called him the night before, said I missed you or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Which I think just also shows the abusive relationship she has there. Like she can't not be away from him,
Like,
sort of thing.
even though she doesn't, even though she's not okay, she's upset with this, she still sort of goes back.
Yeah, because she's leaving. She went to Georgia to get away from him, right?
Yeah.
And then she goes and messages her, and just shows how she's in his grasp. He has his control over her, right?
Yeah.
Whether she likes it or not. And he like goes and just rocks up. Like he just knows where she was. This wasn't. I could maybe understand if it was at her house or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was at the house, but she was at some sort of hotel or like country club.
Yeah.
And he just rocks up.
Yeah. It's
That was really weird.
Yeah, and it's around this time that she says this is sort of where at the movie she leaves, she goes to Georgia, and then he gets upset, and he gets upset, and because she proposes that like their relationship is more than just like a one-sided thing, but I also think she should understand like that's clearly not what he wants. Like I feel like he's demonstrated up to this point that like that's not what he's after, and that she should leave him. But like it is hard to in this in abusive relationship. I mean, and I'm saying this, of course I've never been in an abusive relationship, but I do understand that like from people who have been, it is hard to get out of one once you're in, like especially if it's been like a few years. Like it's definitely hard to try and get out of that, and I understand that. But
it's a bit funny as well because she they had the whole thing where she leaves to Georgia to get away from him, and then he rocks up at Georgia. They go on like a date where they go the gliding, right, in the plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All good. Relationship fixed. All the issues out the window. Yeah. Right? For no reason.
Yeah. It's
like I just don't get it.
No, I don't. I genuinely want to talk to someone who likes these movies or likes these books, and I want to understand why people think this is okay and why this is what should be something that we should strive for. Because, like, if I'm just gonna be honest, this is kind of related. It's basically like, I'm not going to get into a relationship and be like, here's a contract you should sign about things we can and cannot do. Like, I don't think you should. I think you should try things, but if you don't like them, you don't have to do them again, you know? Like, I don't think, like, it's getting... Because this doesn't seem like a relationship that is, like, good. In a sort of sense of he's just hurting her, and like and she's getting upset by it too. Like if she was enjoying it, that would be one thing, but she's clearly not, and that's like just a problem with it. That
is a problem. It's like he should have realized, even with because he gets her to count, which I think is kind of like her almost consenting to it. I don't think if for whatever reason it was to go to like court or anything like that, I don't think that would count, like hold up as consent. However, I think they use it kind of as that sort of like as consent. But I think that as a human being, as soon as she, maybe after like the second or third one, when she started taking a while to actually respond and count, or she started crying or making like really just horrible sounds that you shouldn't be having while having sex. You know, I really feel like he should have just stopped. He should have realized, hey, this is not right. No.
I think that's a problem too, is that he never, at like no point does it seem like he feels bad. And I feel like maybe that's the point. Well, like, I sort of think like, I mean, at a few points he does sort of back off, but it's not enough. I sort of feel like, if he feels bad, then he should, and he knows she doesn't like this, then he shouldn't be seeing her. He should be seeing someone who is okay with this and doesn't have a problem with, being whipped or whatever. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that...
It makes a bit of sense to me, because I think it's to do with the whole, he has his grasp on it. He can't stand to let her go. He's a control freak. He's not protective, but he's like obsessive, he's intrigued. Like, it's very different. I don't know if you ever had to do something, like had to explain something you're passionate about. Like you're explaining a video game to one of your mates, like your favorite video game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
It's like that sort of thing. It's kind of like he's like excited to get the show and like show someone new to something. This thing,
Right.
and especially because they're starting from the very beginning. It's like imagine me explaining like Overwatch or like Bloodborne or something to someone who's never ever touched a video game, right? Just that sheer like
Right.
excitement
Because she's a virgin as well. She's never done anything, so
Yeah.
okay.
I was gonna say, like she doesn't hate everything about it. Like there's some things that she likes. Like she openly says that she likes being tied up with like
Yeah. To be fair, she doesn't get rid of everything. Like if I'll see if I can find the bit where they're going through the contract.
She doesn't. Yeah, there's some things that she's like, yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, I want to do that. And there's like some other things that she's like, yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, like she keeps in like using certain toys, but like clamps, she's like, nah, get rid of those. And I'm like, okay, that's fair enough, but like, you know, like
says,
sort of.
She says genital clamps.
Yeah,
exactly.
genital clamps. Yeah.
That's just don't even want to know what those are.
No, I don't want to be fair, I could totally, if I saw that, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing
They're probably
that.
exactly what you think they are.
I mean, it seems pretty self-explanatory, but just because I kind of assume what it is doesn't mean I want to know it that I'm right. You know,
I got the transcript up. So it says, here we go. Business meeting. Okay, I've done this before, blah, 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 whatever. She says, page 1, track out my older, whatever.
Yep.
The submissive shall submit to any sexual activity.
Yep.
Demanded by the dominant without. It doesn't say who says what, so it's kind of frustrating.
Okay, I think you can
demanded
kind
by
of.
the dominant without hesitation or argument.
Yeah, she takes out a lot of, well, not everything, but she takes out like some super hardcore
She
stuff.
takes out anal fisting, vaginal fisting.
Yeah.
Same page. Is the use of sex toys acceptable to the submissive? Vibrators, okay. Dildos, fine. Genital clamps, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Then she asks, what are butt plugs? Which is funny.
I mean, that doesn't that kind of seem obvious just by the name, right? Like to me, like it just sort of seems like, yeah, that's kind of obvious, isn't it? What it is.
And then I think he kind of spins his words a bit to basically still go with the whole manipulative sort of thing. Because there's a bit where in this thing where she says, hanging on a rope from the ceiling, for what possible reason? And then he responds with, for your pleasure, right? So he's kind of like tricking her to think this is all for her, right?
Yeah, when in really reality, none of it is. It's all for him. It's getting him off and getting him, you know, yeah. So we're getting towards the end, and we find out about Christian's past and how he had a not so good childhood, to put it simply, and how he was abused by a woman.
It was a woman. It was his mother's friend. I don't know if it's a biological or his adopted mother's friend.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, at least in the first movie.
Yeah, Mrs. Robinson. And he did stuff with her for 6 years, which is
he still talks to her.
Yeah, isn't that super weird? Like,
that's
if you were
red flag that you're gonna hang out with your abuser. Well, that's where he gets it from, right? If she's, you know,
I mean, I think that's sort of what they're saying. That like, oh, if you're abused when you're younger and you sort of exposed to that sort of thing, you'll do that when you're older, which I feel like is a bit of a bad message to send.
They could put that in a good message. Be like, oh yeah, I was abused, but here I am. Explain characteristics of an abuser.
Totally.
Oh,
absolutely.
He's coming to redemption almost. Like, well, he's kind of realizing that's not right, which I think he might do in the later movies. The point is that.
Yeah, but like it in this film, in isolation, it's sending the message like, oh, anyone who's abused when they're younger will grow up and abuse people, and that's like super shitty to say to like to people who like, you know, like young girls and young boys who are abused by, you know, much older people they know, men or women, it doesn't matter, it's still fucking awful. And it's because it also makes them like not ask for help or tell people what's happened, like because it's basically saying, oh, it's not that, like, you know, if this happens to you, you will grow up to be a bad person, and and you'll do that same stuff, and it's like, that's not okay. Like, this movie isn't okay. It's terrible. It's really bad.
Yeah, like he literally won the dialogues, right? So she's talking about after still with the whole thing with the contract when they discussed the details.
Yeah.
He just suggested we one night go on a date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then just like a regular couple, dinner, movie, ice skating, whatever you want. She said accepted. He said you're very kind. I'll suggest an Appendix 5.
Yeah, there's so many bits where it's just like that just doesn't fit. Yeah, there's so many bits of like dialogue which is like no one talks like that.
He does. He talks like that.
Yeah, but like no real person talks like that. Like this is dialogue, like how their dialogue is like so cringe and so like.
It's like a 13-year-old Wattpad bloody fan fiction.
It's what like children think. It's like
Not children.
No,
Not
like
children.
no, like a 14-year-old who has no idea on what like a healthy relationship is or how adults talk to each other about this sort of thing. And it's like, oh yeah, this is what they say, right? This is what I think they say, so it must be what they say. Like it's not that sort of thing. Yeah, no, children definitely don't. But like 13, 14-year-olds who have no experience in this. And have no idea what they're talking about, and I've like it's So we're getting to like the end. So yeah, they sort of he wants to do more, experiment with more things, and then it eventually gets to a point where she just doesn't, and she's just not happy, and then like he's whipping her, and she isn't a fan of that. Which, to be fair, It is like the most uncomfortable scene in the film because it's like she just seems so upset. Like the other times, she doesn't seem upset or to have a problem with it necessarily, so they're not as bad. Like they're very awkward, but they're not like, oh, this is just uncomfortable to watch in a sort of the same way. And then she sort of gets upset at him, and then we're pretty much at the end, and we get. A line that is so shit that I spent a good like 5 minutes laughing when she's asking him like, oh, like what's wrong, or like I don't remember exactly what she says, but she's talking to him and he says, I'm 50 shades of fucked up.
Yeah,
like,
it's real goofy.
I legitimately spent like 5 minutes laughing, and I rewound and I went back and I'm like, did he say that? Did I say that right?
What I said out loud was title card.
Yeah.
I just said that out loud.
Yeah.
And I went back and he said it, and I was like, that's such a shit way of trying to get it's so like trying to get the title in the movie as dialogue. Like films do that sometimes, and sometimes it's super just like awkward and cringy. But this is just funny.
Super awkward and cringy.
Yeah, it was, and it's so funny. It's like, what are you talking about? It's.
I've just fucked up.
It was real goofy.
It's funny.
Just didn't work.
And then so she stays, right? Doesn't she like spend the night over, and then she leaves the next day or something, right?
Yeah, it's because they did it in the evening. They just had sex, right?
Yeah.
And I think she went up to him after he was playing the piano and said, "Show me what it's really like." And then she gets she gets freaking beat up, dude. Like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's super bad.
Then she goes and cries herself to sleep.
Yeah. And
it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and then she leaves the next day.
Yeah, and that's the end of the movie.
And then and they say, and he says Anna, and then she says Christian, and then the elevator doors close.
Yeah.
Similar to earlier on when they first met, and then the movie ends, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, I felt like something was gonna happen. I was like, oh, there's like 20-25 minutes left of the film. There's gonna be everything's gonna wrap up, everything's gonna come together, and then the elevator doors close, and then it finishes, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like, I thought something else was going to happen, and it just ends.
I really thought there would be at least like one more scene that like sort of wraps everything up, but no, it just like, oh, come back for the next one, and it's like,
no, I don't want to watch the next one, dude. I don't want to watch this crap again.
Yeah, no.
It didn't feel fulfilling. Because you got to think as well, like when you watch movies, like characters got to feel character arcs, and they got to feel fulfilling. Christian had no character arc.
No, he pretty much is like the same from beginning to end. There's no change to his character, and Anna changes. To be fair, to give the film credit, Anna changes. Like she leaves Christian at the end, which is somewhat character development. Doesn't make it good. It's still bad, but at least she's a bit different in that she's not completely enamored with Christian anymore by the end.
Yeah,
it's still not good. It's still this. Then is there any like final things you guys want to say about this film? Any final
It's
notes?
scuffed. It is scuffed.
Yeah, it's
so.
It's
like it's alright if you think past all that shit.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just scuffed. It's just scuffed.
I really, my closing remarks are basically I really just think it's a movie about a very sick, twisted man, abuser, filling out his sick fantasies and disguising it as something good. He's like a manipulative, horrible, just terrible person. I think Christian as a person, I think there's a special place in hell for people like him.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I think it's just somebody. It's definitely just a story of like somebody's fantasy or fanfic that they wrote. It definitely feels like that.
It definitely feels like a fanfic.
It's a 13-year-old Wattpad fanfiction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Yeah. Tom, what would you give it as a rating out of 10?
Out of 10?
Yeah.
Say 1 or a 2.
A 2, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, what would you give it out of 10? Unless you've got anything funny you want to say before.
I give it like a 3.
A 3?
Just because there was some things that I was like, hey, that's pretty good. Like cinematography was pretty alright.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
And like that's about it, really.
Yeah. So yeah. Sort of. I'll give my final thoughts, and then I'll put a rating on this. I think I genuinely was like, I knew I wasn't gonna like this. I knew this was gonna be bad. I was not prepared for the level of like shit that this would be. I legitimately thought like, oh, this movie will be bad, and everyone says it's bad, and I understand it will be bad, but I won't be like just like. I was either so incredibly bored by it all, or super uncomfortable. Like there's no like point where I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. I'm just like bored and just wanted it to be over, or just like I was uncomfortable and I wanted that to be over because it's like uncomfortable. It just fails. Christian is a bad fucking person who does like I keep going back to this point, but I think I need to repeat it because it's still a problem. Like, this is not okay. If any, I don't think any women listen to this podcast, but if you do, and you meet a guy who is like Christian Grey, no, just don't fucking go with him. He's a bad person, and you deserve better than that. Like,
you're about to be on like the missing persons fucking page.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah. He's definitely that type. Like just.
Yeah.
He's and it's like I don't root for these characters. I think like Christian's a bad person, and I think Anna is at times a bit stupid. Like
don't get me wrong. In real life, people are into that shit. People are into some weird shit.
No. Like yeah. Listen,
and like I have nothing wrong with that. You do you, as long as it's not harming somebody or anything like that.
I mean, it is harming.
I mean, like consent. It's not like consensual harming. It's like it's not like the getting like harmed without consent or anything like that.
It's not like it's not like you're okay with bondage. You're not okay with people just like hitting each other.
Yeah.
I mean, he is doing that, but early on, he's not. He's sort of going, but yeah, just like the thing is, like, this movie's terrible. A 2 out of 10. I'm sorry I had to bring you guys on for this one.
It's fine.
Believe me, next time I get you guys on, we'll do a good movie next time. We will do something good. We'll do something that I actually like.
Cool.
At least. Yeah, any final things you guys want to say?
No. That's about it.
I will never get those 2 hours of my life back.
Yeah. Hours wasted.
Yeah. Sorry guys. Hey, I had to endure it as well, so I feel like that's the
trade-off.
But altogether, that's 6 hours.
That is 6 hours, yeah. Hey, I think like
6 hours of life
Think of how
gone.
we could have been bettering the world. You know, we could have been actually making a good 50 Shades of Grey.
you guys could have said no. Okay, I asked you guys. You guys could have totally said no. We could have done a different move.
That is true.
I
That's a good point.
wanted to do it just because I thought I'll find it funny for how bad it is.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I didn't. It's not even like I was expecting it to be like Sharknado level.
It was like funny bad. Like it's so bad, but you like laugh at it and it's entertaining.
Like it's so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
And like I know bad movies. I've watched 3 of the Sharknado movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because I found it so bad that it was funny.
Yeah. Listen, next year if I do a Valentine's thing with you guys again, I'll pick a good movie. We'll do something of actual quality. But
Cool.
I feel like as people we have grown from this experience.
Yeah,
we have grown.
I'm a changed person, dude.
And I think that's at least worth something, right? Like
I mean, yeah, because I think it definitely opens your eyes to like, at least with me, I feel like consent is a bit more. I feel like I don't know how to explain it. Basically, I feel like I'm going to be more cautious with how I do things from now on.
Yeah.
In that sort of sense.
I'm trying to find out any positive about this film to make it seem like we didn't waste our time watching this movie. I will say this is also worth it for people listening that you got something entertaining, hopefully. I don't know how much of this will make it, because some of this I don't know if I'm going to keep it. But I do think it's important to say I at least have learned something. And I've learned what is a bad movie and how to like avoid making a shit film and how to avoid and this is the thing, right? This is like I think because I'm getting into film and I want to make films and stuff, and I think it's important that I should watch a few bad movies because I can learn from those and be like, okay, this is how they did it here. I'm gonna not do any of that. So I think this is important for at least me, because at least I can learn from this and be like, yep, this is bad. I'm not gonna do any of that. That's fine. So at least I think I got something out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you all for listening to this one. I think some very interesting conversations were had. I don't know if I regret this or not yet. I guess I'll see how it goes. No, I think this was a good record. This is a lot of fun. Definitely had some interesting perspectives. We've all learnt things. All have different new perspectives on things now, at least, which is good. Changing, growing as people is definitely a good thing. Check out the other episodes that I've done on this show. Check out the other one I did with Aaron. We covered 28 Days Later, which was a good film. And then we did 28 Weeks Later in that same episode, which was less good. But still, it's worth checking out. Check out all the other episodes of the podcast I've done. The podcast is now on IMDb if you want to go rate the show on there. Rate on Apple and all the other stuff. Any final things you guys want to say? Anything you want to plug at all?
That's pretty much it.
No, not really.
Yeah. Thank you guys all for listening to this week's episode. And I guess I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye, guys.
Yeah.